our next session of the day. Skilling, reskilling, and upskilling in the age of AI is crucial. Our next session will uncover the nuances of these, titled Winning the War for Talent Advanced Competency Building and Talent Acquisition. We are joined by three experts in this field. We have with us for the session Archana Bhaskar, CHRO and Head of Corporate Communications at Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Also in the session, we'll be joined by Suresh Rai, Global CHRO at Sun Pharmaceutical Industries. And last but not the least, in this session, we are joined by Prashant Sharma, Chief Technical Officer at Zydus Lifesciences. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Archana Bhaskar for the session. Welcome, ma'am.
Okay, very good morning to all of you. I see the hall is filled, so I'm actually delighted because, my heart was sinking a bit. I said such an important topic for this industry that we need highly skilled people, we need good talent to come into the industry, and not many people interested. But now I see many, many more people and a live audience which has done a Q&A. So I'm happy to be standing here and talking. And I have to say that while I stand here and speak, this is really a topic for all of you, because it's really the business needs and the business leaders who need to take a very large responsibility for defining what kind of skills, what kind of people are really required for this industry. We are standing here in this conference in the context of significant growth. This industry is poised to be 3 times, 4 times what it is today in the next 4-5 years. We employ about roughly 6 lakh people and expected to grow at least 10% year on year in terms of creation of jobs. We also stand in the context of a lot of changes in the environment, and Mr. Ranga spoke about the need to, the regulation requiring the need to change significantly what people do and how we do things in our operations. And of course, there are other regulators. Yesterday there were sessions on the role of AI in quality and operations. All kinds of things are happening. We are doing not just generic products, we are doing complex generics, we are doing biosimilars, we are doing devices, we are looking at consumer health. There is a lot of things happening in this industry which is forcing us to think differently about the kind of people we groom and the kind of people we prepare so that they can support this growth that we want for the business. There was this early simple notion where you said you bring people, not necessarily a lot of skill, not necessarily a lot of education. You give them a certificate to operate or license to operate in your business. You teach them the SOP, and then you expect them to go and follow that SOP in the industry. Now, at the heart of our growth is also going to be our ability to be affordable. Because there is, as you know, the business context of a whole lot of challenge on creating affordability of medicine. We are going to many more countries which are more particular about affordability than the large markets of, for example, North America and Europe and so on. Now, the simple notion of you bring people, you teach them the SOP, and you get them to produce, or you get them to sell to the doctors is not valid anymore. Because if you have to grow, and we have to grow with the affordability, comparative advantage intact, we've got to bring in all the different ways of operating, right? So the question then is, if we cannot have this of, more production means more people, more sales means more feet on street, and if we've got to bring in all this digitization, automation, and all the tools, there is a whole lot of different set of things that we need to think about than the way we've traditionally trained our people. Yeah? So a lot of good experiments are already in place, and several of the larger companies are already doing significant amount of reskilling. Bulk of it is done internally by the large organizations. If we were to talk about this as an industry challenge, we need to bring up forces together. We need to bring our experiments together in order to create a sustainable way in which we can continue to feed this industry with the kind of talent that we want, that we can continue to reskill our people and upskill our people so that we can use them in different ways than we were asking them to do work before. So there's this context of what needs to be done has changed. Then the context of how also work needs to be done has changed because of all the things, the digitization tools, the regulatory expectation, the kind of things we are doing. And then there's the third part, which is about, in our economy, particularly where a large part of the population is pretty young, we've got to take into account their aspirations. And we've got to be realistic in our assessment of saying, do they find working in pharma attractive or not? Will we be able to attract these people? There are a lot of industries which are growing in India, and there are several jobs which are quote unquote relatively easier to do than the kind of work we expect. For example, our people in the field who've got to go meet doctors and spend a lot of time, effort, patience, to be there, selling to them, detailing the products. And of course, say, if the extreme example of API manufacturing, where it's tough work to stand in the plant and in the heat and the conditions that we have to deliver the product. So how do we make ourselves attractive to the right kind of talent to come into the industry? All these three aspects have to be considered to formulate a good plan for skilling and reskilling, upskilling for this industry. Those of you who are familiar with the World Economic Forum job report, will know that 6 on 10 people need reskilling as per that report. It also says that the access to the kind of skill building efforts that are needed is less than half of that group of people have access to those kind of programs, interventions, or opportunities. 35% of the work is kind of done manually today, and that is going to decrease even by 10%, 20%. Balance is going to shift. And the skills, therefore, that are required, I'm now talking less of technical skills. My colleague Prashant, I assume, will talk a lot more about the technical skills that are required. Will be about problem solving, will be about analytical skills, will be about learnability and agility of people to deliver to the new us of the industry and of the business. In most of the programs that we run today in this industry, we don't consciously work on these aspects. Many of I know the IP organizations are implementing the digital lighthouse, for example, or autonomous ways of working, TPM, TQM, whatever format, lean, that you're adopting for your industry. It necessitates the operators to actually not just run the machine, but also kind of know the basics of how to do basic maintenance and problem solve if it stops or if there's a deviation, because of something that happens on the line or the process. It's not enough for them to just follow the process and get out. When we put together the programs, while large companies are doing it, I think eventually we'll have to follow a model where the industry, the academics, and the government comes together to pull all our resources and efforts to create a sustainable solution over the next 10 years or 5 years that we need to. Now, there are a lot of interventions already in place. The new education policy talks about the vocational training. There is the apprentice program that I know a lot of us are availing of today. There is the Lifesciences Skill Development Council that's doing significant work with different kinds of organizations. There is the work that with the IPA we're trying to do with the pharmacy colleges of India on trying to ensure that we get a good curriculum base where when the students come out of it, they have some idea. The curriculum is such that it enables them to transition into good work quickly and reduces the time that all of us have to spend then on readying them between job and being able to do work on the shop floor or in the field. There are the other, I think yesterday it was announced also that we are starting off this Pharma Academy for Global Excellence. It's a wonderful initiative because it'll help us create common standards and common programs in a way that we can all work together to raise the game. Eventually, when a large company works on people, they end up being resources for the industry. Most of the time, they leave and go and join some other industry, and it's our responsibility to keep feeding this talent pool to create the jobs that we need and create the kind of talent that we need. I'll take a few examples of what we are doing at Dr. Reddy's. This is we run a program since almost 2001 or 2002, where we hire students who finish their 12th. We pick them up from rural areas, economically underprivileged, and we give them an education while they work for us. About 5,500 such people we put through the program, and it's worked very well for us. Increasingly, we find we were putting them through the BSc or a B.Pharm kind of program. Increasingly, we find we have to redo the entire program to get them not just to work on to have a basic degree of science or pharmacy, but to be able to have a more technical skills, so vocational education, technical training, some of these behavioral things that I talked about earlier in terms of ability to problem solve, learnability. These are all things that we are working with and repivoting this program. The apprentice program is another one that is very significant that we can utilize to get people to do, on-the-work training and to be ready to be absorbed in the industry as we do the work. My time is up, so I'm going to stop here. Just in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Bhaskar. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Suresh Rai on stage. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Okay, how are you guys doing? All good? Still awake? Lunch is a little far away? Yeah. All right, so guys, so I just put together a few things, and in fact, my very old friend, old means from, the time that we have known, not from old, Archana, in fact, she took us through, very nicely through, a lot of, in terms of skilling, reskilling. This is a very critical subject. This is something like almost like a do or die thing for us. So look, I have looked at it a little from a more macro perspective, and I'll just come from there and just bear with me. So look, as Indian pharma industry, and since we've been hearing from yesterday about the possibilities, so it's a coming revolution. It has been a bit of a silent revolution. In fact, in India, IT has been very famous and all that, but we've done quite well. As Mr. Chawla said yesterday, that, this is like a Hollywood, Bollywood thing. So we've done well. But how I look at it is that what we need going forward is a 5x leadership for 5x growth. And we'll just go quickly through this. So this is our vision, and this really works. The good thing about visions are they work if you have one. And I can share, I used to be a long time ago in Shanghai, and I have seen each and every city, each and every university used to have a 25-year-old live vision. The city's model used to be there, that this is what it will look after 25 years, and it would happen. Similarly here, I think our government has given an amazing vision. Now the good thing is all of the outcomes, we need to have capabilities. These are the capabilities we need to have, only then things will happen. If we don't have these capabilities, they will not happen. And this is what we all need to move towards, working with the larger ecosystem and all the partners. So which is all of our regulators, all of our governments, all of our people, universities, the entire ecosystem. So that's what we need to do. Again, if you look at why I call it 5x, If you look at I've just done, and guys, I'm only 6 months old in the industry, but just picking up some numbers, little here and there is okay, is if you see our growth projections by 2030, is if we look at that, it will be about 2x. If we look at 2047, we'll be 7x. So on an average, about 5x is a good number to target. We should go for 5x growth for this industry. And so which essentially, if you see, we've had IT boom, we've had auto manufacturing boom, and this is the moment for us for the pharma boom. So, we've been like that movie, The Secret Superstar. So from secret superstar, we need to become superstars. So we all will be superstars. And this is our moment, guys. Okay, so but, what has gotten us here is not what is going to take us forward, because that's a big leap. So the few days ago, I was listening to Dr. Mashelkar, and he said it's not leapfrog. We need to pole vault, and I really loved that thing. And this is what we need to do, is we really need to, sort of take a pole vault to the future, which means our talents, capabilities, leadership, everything into one. If we look at some of the changes, and this is very early diagnostics, which I was thinking, if we have to become that big, we cannot remain generics alone. We will move from generics to specialty. We can already see those changes happening. If you look at least in some of the large companies, this shift is already happening. Short term, we've been a bit short term, cost, reactive, focused. We really need to become strategic. Long term, holistic, proactive, agile. Limited digital capabilities, and we've heard ad nauseum since yesterday that we need to, have AI, IR 4.0 capabilities, the connected systems in the factories, PLCs, all of that, innovative R&D. Narrow skill based, one of the things which I find in the industry is we are very narrow. We really need to broaden. Core plus more. So not only domain, but we need to go a bit wider. And use the ecosystem. We don't have to do everything ourselves. So use, who has this best solution on this? We partner with them and we use that. So we need to find a solution. We don't have to do everything ourselves. Domestic workforce, this is a big one. If we become big, we become global, we need to know we need to have leaders who can manage global workforces, who have worked there. We need to have global people in the company. We need to have a lot more, people outside India in our teams, in our companies. And we need to build those skills. We've had good people development, but we need to become great. Leadership, functional. Mostly telling. How can we move to inspiring? That is really one of the big ones which I feel. Okay, and plus also some of the things which Archana mentioned is, are we industry of choice? If you ask any youngsters, they'll say, first I want to join banking, consulting, and this, and pharma is one of the last. How do we become attractive? How do we make ourselves more, pardon me, a bit sexy from that perspective? That how do we become, people should feel, wow, I want to work here. Do we have, again, so 3 big things from a talent perspective: choice, industry of choice, global mindset, and do we have future-ready skills and capabilities? And these are some of the things, so which means that what is our EVP as an industry, as companies? So global means inspirational, where the leadership really becomes moves to transformational. How do we become global? And how do we become future ready? So I'll not go into the detail, I'll keep it macro. And okay, and lastly is about talent retention. One of the briefs was that how do we retain? And these are classic levers which we need to work on. And I'll not go into the detail, but I'll say brand attractiveness is possibly one of the bigger one, is there where we need to work. But guys, just to end it, forever, I've been in the industry for about 30 years, in the HR field. This question of there was never a time when there was no war for talent. There's always been. So there was never a time we said, oh, there's no war for talent, now I can relax. Because what you are looking for is always changing. Where you are looking for is always changing, local, global. And how you are looking for, how you are reaching out to the talent is also changing. Things have become more digital, AI focused, versus a manual thing which used to be there before. So guys, to end it, future is really rushing at us. And it is saying that, there is just jump and, it is for us to embrace what we can. So for what we need is 5x leadership for 5x growth. So I'll stop there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rai, for an energetic presentation. I'd now like to invite on stage Mr. Prashant Sharma to please join us for his thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a warm welcome.
Good morning. I divide most organizations into two parts, Gyan Bhumi and Karm Bhumi. Now, the Gyan is all sitting here. And the Karm Bhumi normally travels by buses. The Gyan Bhumi travels by business, international locations, fancy conferences like this. And we often pay lip service to the development of the hands-on machine, the people who actually build the product. And most investigations will happen in cozy air-conditioned cabins. And then the shop floor is told what is to be done. War of talent. And the interesting thing about being the third in a line of two fantastic speakers before me is that either they would have shared everything you had in mind, or they will have set up a good context for what you want to share. Luckily, what I'm sharing is very, very solution-oriented, in the sense, tactical. But for us, this tactical has been very meaningful, and I hope that more organizations copy this. We'll be happy to share whatever IP we have developed to help foster better talent. See, the war of talent is there, like Suresh said, but eventually the point is, do we have a factory for talent? Right? And in my mind, our biggest limiting factor today are the people who are operating the machines. When you sit in an aircraft, essentially, you can call that person a pilot with a fancy salary, or a captain, whatever you would like to call him. He's eventually a machine operator, right? And a highly skilled one at that, but a machine operator. A train engine driver is a machine operator, a bus driver is a machine operator. When you're driving a car, you're a machine operator. That's who you are. But when we are giving $1 million machine or $2 million machine, or an injectable line to which will cost maybe $5-6 million upwards, maybe to 5-6 people to run, the respect which a pilot gets, right? And a pilot at a point in time will impact maybe 500 lives. But a batch of 1 million vials will touch 1 million lives eventually, right? So if we were to build with that context, the talent with that context, things can be different. Our challenge was at Zydus, how do I assess my talent? Because my line of sight was very, very weak, right? And the line of sight was dimming as I would reach the operator. When it would be time for assessment of skills, we realized that there was a lot of biases. So my first learning was we wanted to pick up SMEs from the site. And names came to us from all the sites. These SMEs we wanted as a commando force. We wanted to train them further by sending them to OEMs, etc. When I met them during a session, I realized that the quality was very, very suboptimal. We dug in deeper and we realized all the plants had volunteered those names who were of no use to the plants, so they could be spared for those 4 or 5 days of training. Now, see, please understand, this is a reality, right? And if you do not know how to assess, these so-called SMEs would have trained more people like them, and it's force multiplication. That was the trigger, and we said, how do we create an objective way of assessing talent at the shop floor? When I say shop floor, means everybody who will influence a product. I have the least influence of the product. My team has the second least influence on the product, and we are conscious of this fact. So this was the Gyan part. This is the Karm part. So what we have done is we have put in a technical assessment center at place. From 2000 2014, Zydus has been using assessment centers, but mainly for behavioral competencies. That is when I was in the role of CHRO at Zydus. That's the first thing which we set up. We created a competency framework. All promotions, growth, lateral movements in Zydus, selection process includes a behavioral third-party assessment. It has been third-party since 2014 till now, right? It's almost a decade of this journey. Now, the conversion of this behavioral competency assessment center into technical was much more difficult. And we still wanted to retain the third party, but we realized that the third party talent available was very, very limited, which could actually enable us to do it. So how do you create third party within your organization? Right? That's one. Which meant you needed to have assessors. In a typical tool competency matrix, to assess the performance on the tool competency matrix, you need assessors who are trained on those tools and to assess those competencies using those defined tools. So we created then an army of almost 250 assessors drawn from all over the plants. Initially, we started with a number much larger. There were dropouts. People dropped out because they realized the bar was being set very high. Plus also, we were dropping out people who we realized may be good technically, but may not be good assessors, may not retain objectivity, or may not be able to grasp the whole environment of an assessment. We had to then create case studies based on actual examples of OOS, OOTs, deviations, kappas, change controls, an extensive repository of almost 2,000 case studies across all functions was created. Today in Zydus, any promotion happens up to senior manager is through a technical assessment center. I'm talking of the manufacturing quality, all the technical functions. And beyond that, the promotions happen basis the behavioral competency assessment. Our hypothesis is people should grow till a certain level on exceptional behavioral assessment, which is on the other edge of the bell curve, and a thick technical assessment. Thereafter, the behavioral competency will play a larger role. So what we now have is a basket of psychometric tests which are focused on the behavioral part, case studies, role plays, and in-person assessments. The panel that assesses the interviewee or the assessee is site agnostic and completely anonymized. What it means is that none of the panelists, and the three assessors, one from quality, one from the function of the person, one from HR, none of them will ever know who the assessee was, and the assessee will never know who the assessors was. It's completely anonymized, and they will never be from the same site. So there's a third-party outsourced online tool test that they have to undergo, which focuses on their understanding of SOPs. And the answers are all objective. It gives a comprehensive score. It's all randomized, so if 10 people sitting in the same room will not face the same set of questions. They have a good inventory of questions. Once they clear this, right, what it also tells us, when you look at this, and the three categories of questions, simple, medium difficulty, hard, is we know, oh, this person is struggling at medium and hard, or this person could reach up to medium, but he's struggling at hard. And then it helps us define the TNIs for these people. But for the larger audience, because they also represent a large mass, roughly 10% people are promoted every year, so you can imagine the number of people who are undergoing this technical assessment every year. Thereafter, they undergo the panel discussion, which is preceded by a case study that they solve. And all the case studies are different, real, life-based, real situation-based examples. Most case studies will lack some information in the other. So the whole idea is, before the actual panel discussion, the assessee will ask for that missing information, and he will get it. Then they face the panel. That's the subjective part of the discussion, and it's all camera-based. Any person can can ask for a re-evaluation, and everything is recorded. It also puts pressure on the assessors that they need to be very objective, and assessors are calibrated every year before they begin to assess. Basis these assessments and on-the-job observations and other data like operator-specific or team-specific, sometimes it's very difficult to go to an operator-specific data, but team-specific, we have these 5 levels of proficiency, and people are then rated on what proficiency level are they falling at. There are incentives to go from efficiency level 1 to 2, and which is again TAC based. So people can volunteer for moving into this. The last piece which I would want to share is, this is the first year when we move to self-nomination for promotions. Anybody can volunteer to undergo TAC. The criteria is that you shouldn't have been promoted in the last 2 years. And if you fail it, you will not get a chance for the next 2 years. This is to ensure that too many people are not trying to get into this. Self-nominations are controlled. And if the person gets nominated, the softer aspect is that he may have or she may have bypassed the manager. They have a right to seek a transfer within the plant or outside the plant. So yeah, my time is up, and thank you. I hope that more people adopt this, because the pushback from my team was, you will do all of this, people will jump ship. I said, fantastic, it's okay. That will happen either which way, and I hope other people will get inspired, and collectively we will create talent, and the war of talent will shift from war of talent to factory of talent. Thank you.
Mr. Sharma, may I request you to please stay with us, and may I invite Ms. Archana, Bhaskar and Mr. Suresh Rai to also join us on stage for a live Q&A with our lovely audience. And to everyone present here, please stand up and our volunteer will bring the mic to you. Please state your name and organization before asking the question. Please stand up, sir, so that our volunteer can see you.
Good morning, Sureshji. I think you have given a fantastic outcome about this evaluation of technical person, non-technical person criteria. So we have learned, I think, this presentation is really good. I have one question from Archana. She told during discussion that 6 of 10 people, I think they need multi-scaling. So you have any rationale or any data, how you can say 6% out of 10 is required for multi-scaling?
So what I narrated was from the Future of Jobs report that the World Economic Forum, they conduct a study, with several organizations around the world, and they do an assessment. There's a lot of detail behind this in terms of what kind of industries, what kind of jobs. So their projection for the future is that with all the changes that are happening in this world in terms of how work gets done, what needs to be done, a large part, you could say 50% of the people need to upskill or reskill themselves in order to do their work. If I just take my own example, I think I need to learn a lot in order to be effective in my job today. If I were to simply work based on my experience of the past, I would not be able to do anything meaningful or add value. It is true of everybody, and in that sense, I kind of little bit disagree on the war for talent. We are all in the same place. I think we are all equalized, because what needs to be done now, nobody has done before. And therefore, we are all in the same place, and we all need to have new skills.
Okay, suppose we do multi-scaling, then how you check the effectiveness of the impact of this multi-scaling of the person?
Yeah, I think I have a lot of my colleagues here in the audience who talk about that. It's a very important question. And I think the only skill that is worth having is what you can take to what you do at work. So this is not skilling for the sake of skilling, but it has to go along with how work is changing in your context. So when we at Dr. Reddy's are moving to this whole model of lean, which is saying an operator just doesn't operate the machine, they also do basic maintenance, and then they also manage the machine and so on. There is a level of skilling that we have defined. We incentivize that skilling. We help that person to get skilled in those through OEMs and other interventions. So we can't do skilling for the sake of skilling. It has to be relevant to the context, the process, the system, the way of working has to change. in order to allow for the person to use that new skill.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your question. We have time only for one last question. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Hello.
There is mic already given at the back, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Binu here from Ajanta Pharma. My question is, there are a lot of companies are currently outsourcing or third-party outsourcing programs are there, or lots of the basic functions like housekeeping, maintenance, and all such things are outsourced. So, do this give some more input on this functions, or what is your opinion on this is adding some flavor to the function, or that will degrade your system, your functions?
So, at Zydus, we have a very different view on this. And we have moved to in-source or bet on our own talent, wherein we think some jobs which were being done by contract workers, etc. earlier, like glassware cleaning in lab, we only do it through permanent people, right? Because it can give you peaks. If you don't understand the importance of a clean glassware, now again, typically you can think of it as a housekeeping job. We don't think of it as a housekeeping job. Right? Visual inspection, right, is a very, very critical skill. Right? So there are many skills which we think of as critical to quality, which may otherwise fall. Typically, this is something which I can outsource. So I think your criteria has to be how critical it is to the product, and if it is critical to the product in any which way, it has to be, in our mind, insourced.
And maybe I'll just add, and in fact, this is where, in fact, Davinder Singh ji and we were having a discussion just 2-3 days ago. This was about the technical capabilities, boosting the the overall skills. And one of the things we were just discussing, that if it is a utilities or a boiler type of operation, and if you want to train the people, then it is best that we send the person to a Thermax, who makes the thing, and we send our people there who will train, because they have the expertise. They have seen thousands of these, examples. So I remember, I'll just give one more example, is in my past life, a long time ago, I worked in a plant in Procter & Gamble, and we used to have these UVA machines. There were some 500 of them across the world. Now we just bought one of them in India. And on one, how much of R&D you can do on that one machine, right? So you will learn over a period of 5 years. But we used to have one global expert somewhere. All the 500 machines, whatever the data issues, downtime or, something not working, will be going to that one person. So in a day, that person sees some 3, 4, 10 examples of different types of defects, chronic, short-term and all that which happens. So it is best to pick up a phone call and just discuss with that guy that this is the issue which is coming, and you will get the solution very quickly, rather than we discovering it. And we will discover, but we will discover it over a long period of time. So that's why important is that how can we quickly get to a solution in a good, effective manner. So that's where we really need to look at it holistically, more strategically. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our speakers for answering those questions. We thank you so much for your time. And thank you to our audience for your enthusiastic participation.